All right. Let's pretend that we're just coming in cold and nobody on Twitch has heard us wanging on about nothing for the last 10 minutes. Hello, and on behalf of the Online Quiz League, welcome to the Tier 1 Grand Final of the International Culture Challenge, the competition that tests players' knowledge of all things historical, geographical and scientific, of fine art and classic literature, of social sciences and music that is definitely not a popular idiom. In this, the fifth incarnation of the competition, we welcomed over 300 quizzers. Their performance in 6 weeks of head-to-head competitions earned them points, and after 6 weeks, the top 16 players were placed into Tier 1. 2 weeks ago, those 16 became 8, and last week, 8 were whittled down to 4. And what a glittering quartet we have. In Seat 1 is a player who is no stranger to the Tier 1 final of the ICC, and the winner of Season 3. Part of the winning team at the OQL Buzzer Quiz in Birmingham and a finalist in the Quiz League of London's Brain of London tournament a few months ago. Please welcome Daoud Jackson. In Seat 2 is another former finalist who lost the second ICC Tier 1 final on a tiebreak to Victoria Gross. A 3-time Mastermind finalist, a winner of Brain of Britain and Top Brain, the Brain of Britain Champion of Champions competition. It's Mark Grant. In Seat 3 is a serial quiz success story, a Brain of London finalist for the last 5 years, the winner of both of the OQL's written quizzes, the Brain of Online Quiz League 2021, a multiple Mimir's World Champion, and a player who topped the individual standings in the OQL this season, averaging 7 out of 8 own gets over 11 matches. Oh, and also the defending champion of the International Culture Challenge. Here's Evan Lynch. And last, but by no means least, in Seat 4, we have the player who was runner-up to Evan in the last International Culture Challenge. A true polymath, as well as knowing about the subjects that come up in this competition, he's also the reigning OQL USA Pop Solos champion, as well as having topped the individual standings in OQL USA this season. Please give it up for Scott Blish. A lovely selection of high art and classical music there from all.
None of you like Dillinger Escape Plan, I take it. Okay.
Before I get to the questions, I'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge the hard work and effort put in by our team of question setters. To put together 9 weeks worth of questions that are consistently interesting and challenging, and often hard to pronounce, is a huge feat. So thank you to Ronnie Jackson, to Movin Miranda, to Ollie Martin Hack, Rachel Clark, Rose Curtin, and Siddharth Rao. And apologies if I've mangled any of those names. They didn't give me a pronunciation guide for that list. This is a truly international competition. And in addition to editing the questions every week, our question editors research answers to the questions in 9 different languages. So thank you so much to Rob Hanna and to Hugh Bennett. Thank you to Will Jones for the technology that keeps the competition running and for his nifty new tiebreak scorer. To Dave Gregson for keeping the results feed updated, and to Mike Olsen for his fantastic weekly stats. On behalf of the question setters, thank you to all the play testers. And on behalf of everyone at OQL, thank you to all of the readers who have volunteered to read 720 matches over the course of the season. But the biggest thank you has to go to the players. Without you, there would be no International Culture Challenge. We've seen over 20 nationalities represented and tier champions this season from at least 10 different countries. With that said, it's time to get on with the quiz. Sorry, technical disaster. Right. I don't need to tell you the rules, but for the benefit of anyone who is tuning in for the first time, Players, you have 30 seconds on your own questions, and you have 3 seconds as they go down the line. Please keep your hands on screen at all times, and please feel free to police this yourselves, because I'm going to be looking at the questions more than I'm going to be looking at your hands. All the questions will be pasted into the score sheet, so you shouldn't need me to repeat anything. That would just be cruel. So if everyone can see the scorer, and only the scorer,
Yep.
Then good luck one and all, and let's get this Tier 1 Grand Final of ICC underway with round 1 and questions to Daoud.
Good luck, fellas.
Fuck, guys.
Set during the backdrop of the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, which 2003 novel tells of lost friendship and a deeply personal quest for redemption after the protagonist, Amir, witnesses an assault on his close and loyal friend Hassan and fails to intervene? The novel ends with the line, "I ran with the wind blowing in my face and a smile as wide as the valley of Panjshir on my lips. I ran."
The Kite Runner.
It is The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, yes. And your second question. Which temperate rainforest in Chile covers the Chiloé archipelago and is named after a nearby city? It is around 120 million years old and is the site of laurel forests that arose on Gondwana, which therefore have flora and fauna related to that in Australia and New Zealand rather than the rest of the Americas. 10 seconds.
Chilota Rainforest.
It's not, so Mark.
Pass.
And Evan.
I'll pass.
And Scott.
Pass.
This is the Valdivian temperate rainforest of Valdivia. And Daoud, your third question. Its name, referencing the number of atoms in the valence shell, which rule of thumb in chemistry states that most elements with low atomic numbers combine in ways such that their valence electron configurations are similar to those in noble gases. Ten seconds.
Eight electron rule.
It's not. Mark.
Octet rule?
It is the octet rule. Mark, your own questions. Which major Moroccan port city lies on the western end of the Strait of Gibraltar? It was part of an international zone from 1923 to 56, and after Moroccan independence, it became a popular site for the Beat generation and later hippies.
Tangier?
Tangier is right. Which German romantic poet and novelist wrote his poetry collection Hymnen an die Nacht, or Hymns to the Night, in memory of his fiancée Sophie von Kuhn? He is also the author of the unfinished coming-of-age novel Heinrich von Ofterdingen.
Kleist?
It is not. Evan.
Novalis.
It is Novalis, or Friedrich von Hardenberg. And Mark, your third question. Which composer's work, Das Wohltemperierte Klavier, or the Well-Tempered Clavier, consists of 2 sets of preludes and fugues in all 24 major and minor keys for keyboard? Nicknamed the 48, it was published as 2 books in 1722 and 1742.
J.S. Bach?
It is Johann Sebastian Bach, yes. Evan, your questions. BIV is a philosophical hypothesis, according to which humans do not experience the external world directly, but instead are connected via cerebral nerve endings to a supercomputer that produces electrical impulses that simulate the experience of the external world. Often used as an argument for philosophical skepticism, for what do the letters BIV stand?
Brain in a vat.
Brain in a vat is absolutely right. Modern optoelectronics relies on semiconductor fabrication of on-chip devices such as transistors. One of the first stages in chip development is to obtain N or P-type semiconductor layers by doping an intrinsic semiconductor. This can be done using which post-growth, low-temperature process that involves firing high-energy dopants at the static intrinsic semiconductor substrate. Ten seconds.
Sputtering.
It is not. Scott.
Pass.
And Daoud.
Pass.
And Mark.
Pass.
This is something called ion implantation or ion bombardment. And Evan, your third question. Which politician, the former leader of the left-wing La France Insoumise party, finished third in the first round of the 2022 French presidential election, only 1.2 percentage points behind Marine Le Pen?
Pass.
Okay, Scott.
Pass.
And Daoud.
Mélenchon.
It is, yes, Jean-Luc Mélenchon. Questions to Scott. Which Irish pirate, the leader of a dynasty based in the west of Ireland, sailed to England to petition Elizabeth I for the release of her sons and half-brother?
Irish pirate. Harry Reid. That's not right.
It's not. Daoud.
Bonnie.
Sorry?
Bonnie.
It's not. Mark.
O'Malley.
It is Grace O'Malley, yes.
Nice.
Hiroshige belonged to which ukiyo-e school founded by Toyoharu? He was considered one of the last great masters of ukiyo-e, along with other members of this school, such as Kunisada and Yoshitoshi.
Oh, so this isn't going to be my set. Pass.
Okay, Evan.
I'll pass.
Okay, and Daoud.
Katsukawa School.
Sorry?
Katsukawa School.
It's not that, I'm afraid. Mark.
Pass.
It is the Utagawa School.
Yeah.
And last question of round one. A figurine of a seated goddess flanked by two lionesses was unearthed in 1961 by the archaeologist James Mellert from which site in southern Turkey? This was the site of a proto-city that flourished around 7000 BCE.
Atahoyuk.
Absolutely right, yes. For those of you watching at home, that's how that's spelt. So at the end of round one, Mark has 4, Evan and Daoud have 2 each, Scott has 1, Evan has used 1 bonus attempt, Mark has used 2, Daoud has used 3. Round 2, questions back to Daoud. In ancient Egyptian art, the god Horus is typically shown as a man with the head of what bird?
Falcon.
Falcon is right, yes. The site of a major earthquake in 1960, which Moroccan city on the Atlantic coast is considered the center of Berber or Amazigh culture and has a Berber name meaning citadel. Its nearby beaches means it has become a popular resort destination. Ten seconds.
Agadir.
It is Agadir, yes. Which physical vapor deposition technique is used to deposit thin metallic films onto semiconductor substrates? Its name comes from the physical process in which particles of a solid material are ejected from its surface following bombardment. In contrast to metal evaporation, this method uses much lower substrate temperatures, allowing the deposition of a wider range of metals. Ten seconds.
Ion spray.
It's not that. Scott.
Pass.
And Evan.
I'll pass.
And Mark.
Pass.
This one is sputtering.
Yeah, okay. No, okay. I should have said that.
Mark, your questions. The first Governor-General of India, Lord William Bentinck, passed acts to outlaw and eliminate the crimes of dacoity and which other organised criminal practice that involves robbing travellers and takes its name from the Sanskrit word for concealment?
Thuggism.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yes. In which novel, set in Nigeria during the Biafran War, does the protagonist, a young village boy called Ugwu, navigate the challenges of love, betrayal, and political unrest? The book's title refers to the flag of the short-lived Republic of Biafra, in which almost all of the action takes place.
Half of Yellow Sun.
Is right. Hiroshige's best-known works are landscape series such as 100 Famous Views of Edo, and a series that depicts the 53 stations of which coastal road that linked Edo to Kyoto.
The Narrow Road to the Deep North.
It is not that, I'm afraid. Scott.
Hokkaido.
Sorry?
Hokkaido.
Can you just one more time?
Hokkaido.
How are you supposed to? How does that start?
Tokai.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I couldn't hear the T. That's all. Thank you. Evan, your questions. One of New Zealand's many unusual species of fauna is what reptile that, despite looking like a lizard, is part of a distinct order, Rhynchocephalia. It is best known for having a third eye on the top of its head called the parietal eye.
Tuatara.
That is a tuatara. Ingela Gathenhielm was a Swedish privateer who fought in the service of which Swedish king who led his country during the Great Northern War?
Charles XII.
Charles XII is right. Which forest on the border of Poland and Belarus is the largest surviving part of the primeval forest that covered the European plain before human settlement? It is known for its population of European bison.
Bielowice.
Absolutely right, yes. And that is like that. Scott, your questions. Valence electrons can be counted using what diagrams that take their name from the American chemist who introduced them in his 1916 article, The Atom and the Molecule?
I just want Lewis here.
I do just want Lewis, yes, thank you. In Heinrich von Ofterdingen, the title character dreams of what object that became a central symbol of German Romanticism? Hjalmar Hjort Boyesen wrote that it is an emblem of the deep and nameless longings of a poet's soul.
A flower.
Prompt.
A blue flower.
A blue flower is the right answer, yes.
Excellent.
And the last question of the round. Which composer intended for his Étude d'exécution transcendante, or transcendental etudes, to consist of 24 etudes, one in each of the 24 major and minor keys. This composer of the Rhapsodie Hongroise, or Hungarian Rhapsodies, managed to complete only half of the project using the neutral and flat key signatures.
Blish.
It is Franz Liszt, yes, which means that Mark has 6, Evan and Scott have 5 each, and Daoud has 4. Evan and Scott have used 1 bonus attempt apiece, Mark has used 2, and Daoud has used 3. Round 3, question 1 to Daoud. Jeanne de Clisson was a Breton noblewoman who became a privateer and swore revenge on Philip VI of France after her husband was executed. She also used her ships to supply the English forces in the build-up to which battle of the 100 Years' War? This 1346 battle saw English forces led by Edward III rout the French army due to the superiority of their longbowmen over the French crossbowmen.
Cressy.
Cressy is right. While Governor-General of India, Bentinck also passed a law outlawing what practice, in which a widow sacrificed herself on her husband's funeral pyre. This followed a long period of campaigning against this practice from Hindu reformers such as Raja Ram Mohan Roy.
Sati.
Sati is right. Perhaps the best-known treatment of the brain in a vat hypothesis is by which American philosopher, who, in his 1981 work Reason, Truth and History, argued that a brain in a vat thought experiment created by Gilbert Harman was incoherent by virtue of being self-refuting. This thinker, who died in 2016, also co-names an indispensability argument with Willard Quine.
Davidson.
It's not Evan.
Putnam.
It is Hilary Putnam. Mark, your questions. Which politician finished 4th in the first round of the 2022 French presidential election? This former TV personality is the proponent of the far-right Great Replacement conspiracy theory, and his party, Reconquête, primarily campaigns on immigration.
Zemmour?
Eric Zemmour is right. Although she was initially associated with cuckoos, what other bird was seen as sacred to the Greek goddess Hera? Hera instructed the 100-eyed Argus to spy on a mistress of Zeus. After Argus was killed, Hera placed Argus's eyes on this bird's tail.
Peacock?
Peacock is right. What name is given to the property in which a single molecule has more than one possible Lewis structure? That is to say, the molecule's electrons may have multiple arrangements.
Polysaturated?
It's not. Scott.
Resonance.
Sorry?
Resonance.
Resonance is absolutely right, yes. Evan, your questions. Set during the social and political turmoil of the Belgian withdrawal from Africa, which Barbara Kingsolver novel is narrated by 5 female members of the missionary Price family, who have moved to the Belgian Congo from the USA? The novel's title refers to the family patriarch's mispronunciation of a Kikongo expression, which he intends to mean, Jesus is most precious.
The Poisonwood Bible.
Poisonwood Bible is right. Which German poet and literary critic described Novalis' blue flower as die Armesindeblume, or suicide's flower, in his Lyrisches Intermezzo, as he began to distance himself from Romanticism? This author also wrote the poem Die Lorelei, and many of his lyric poems were used for Lieder by composers such as Schumann and Schubert.
Heine.
It is Heinrich Heine, yes. Containing the world's oldest known megaliths, which archaeological site in southeast Anatolia has been described as the world's first temple by Klaus Schmidt, who led its excavation from 1996 onwards? It contains richly decorated stone pillars dating from around 9,500 to 8,000 BCE.
Göbekli Tepe.
Göbekli Tepe is absolutely right. And to continue the theme of showing these, that is how it's spelled. Scott, your questions. After the deposition of a thin metal film, components with features down to nanometer scale can be defined with which patterning process? A polymer resist is spin-coated on top of the metal film and then exposed using this technique, which may be achieved using deep UV light and a mask, or a high-power focused electron beam.
Chemical vapor. That's not right.
It's not that, no. Mark?
Pass.
And Evan?
Photolithography.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Lithography is also on the card, but yes.
Right, yeah. Use light.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Scott, your second question. Another of New Zealand's unusual species is which olive green parrot, Nestor notabilis, that displays bright orange under its wings? The world's only alpine parrot, its numbers fell dramatically as a result of overhunting because of its supposed habit of attacking livestock.
Akapo.
It is not. Mark?
Key.
It is a Kia, yes. And the last question of round 3. Which rainforest, which lies to the north of a namesake river in northeast Queensland, is often described as the world's oldest rainforest, at around 180 million years old?
Wow, I am blanking on this.
10 seconds.
Pass.
Okay, Daoud.
Pass.
And Mark?
Daintree.
It is the Daintree rainforest, yes. So after round 3, Mark and Evan have 10 each. Daoud and Scott have 6 each. Scott has used 2 bonus attempts. Evan and Daoud have used 3 each, and Mark has used 4.
I'm getting all these phone calls because I think it started broadcasting and people are watching and seeing I'm not there. Everyone's phoning.
Shout out to all those people who made a phone call half an hour ago.
Okay, Daoud, your questions in round 4. Hiroshige's The 53 Stations of the Tokaido was parodied by which other member of the Utagawa school, who replaced the stations with cat puns? This artist was also known for dramatic mythical scenes such as Takayasha the Witch and the Skeleton Spectre.
Kuniyoshi.
Kuniyoshi is absolutely right, yes. Which composer's Opus 28 is a cycle of 24 preludes covering all major and minor keys? This virtuoso pianist wrote them partly while staying in Mallorca, where he spent the winter with George Sand and her children.
Chopin.
Chopin is right. New Zealand's strange fauna isn't limited to vertebrates. The world's heaviest recorded adult insect, weighing as much as a song thrush or a small blue jay, was an individual of which orthopteran insects in the genus Deinocrida?
Weta.
It is a giant weta, yes. Mark, which island that lies around 60 kilometers south of Kyushu is the site of an ancient temperate rainforest that inspired Princess Mononoke and is home to 7,000-year-old sugi, or Japanese cedars? A World Heritage Site, UNESCO described it as the last remnant of warm temperate ancient forest that is unique in this region.
Yonaguni.
It's not. Scott.
Pass.
And Evan.
I'll pass.
Okay, and Daoud.
No, pass.
This is Yakushima.
Okay, yeah, that's not nice.
Mark, your second question. Putnam argued for semantic externalism in Meaning and Reference and The Meaning of Meaning by describing which thought experiment in which he imagines a planet identical to our own, except that a substance ostensibly identical to water has the chemical formula XYZ rather than H2O.
Mini World Series.
It's not. Scott.
Twin Earth experiment.
It is the Twin Earth experiment, yes. And Mark, your third question. The earliest colossal stone building in Egypt and the earliest large cut stone construction in the world is a step pyramid dedicated to which pharaoh, the founder of the third dynasty?
Djoser.
Djoser is right, yes. Evan, your questions. Known for its 18th century fortified Medina, which city in Morocco, south of Agadir and west of Marrakesh, was formerly known as Mogador?
Magnus.
It's not. Scott.
I gotta go for it. I'm not sure how it's pronounced if it's right. Is it like Essaouira, something along those lines?
Yeah, absolutely. Essaouira, yes.
Okay. That was educated, yes.
Yeah, spelled like that. Evan, your second question. For an atom in a Lewis structure, which value is equal to the number of valence electrons in the neutral atom minus the number of non-bonding electrons and 1/2 the bonding electrons? This quantity is similar to an oxidation state, but does not take electronegativity into account. Ten seconds.
The valency?
It's not that. Daoud.
Pass.
Okay, and Scott.
Pass.
And Mark.
Pass.
This is something called formal charge, or FC.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The Norse god Odin is commonly depicted with a pair of ravens, who are named what? The names come from the Old Norse words meaning memory and thought.
Hugin and Munin.
Hugin and Munin is right. All right, even. Scott, your questions. In 2007, which French politician defeated Dominique Strauss-Kahn to win the Socialist Party nomination for president? She was the first woman ever to reach the second round of a French presidential election, but was defeated by Nicolas Sarkozy.
Pass.
Okay. Daoud.
Royale.
It is Ségolène Royal. Which Pulitzer Prize-winning novel by Anthony Doerr tells the stories of a blind French girl, Marie-Laure Leblanc, and a young German army recruit, Werner Pfennig, and their lives before, during, and after the 1944 Battle of Saint-Malo? Doerr conceived of the title of this novel before it was written, inspired by the only scene he then had in mind, a girl reading to a boy over the radio.
Anthony Doerr. What did he write?
Ten seconds.
I don't know if he wrote this. Is it All the Light We Cannot See?
He did write it, and it is the right answer, yes.
Nice.
In 1873, Jyotirao Phule founded the Satyashodak Samaj in Pune to campaign for the rights of women and members of which group of people who belong to the lowest stratum of the caste system, Known by a Marathi term introduced by Pule, this group were excluded from the Varna caste system and were previously known as untouchables.
Dalits.
Dalits, absolutely right, which means with 1 round to go, it is very finely poised. Mark and Evan have 11 each. Scott and Daoud have 10 each. Evan has used 3 bonus attempts, and the other 3 players have used 4 each. So, going into the final round, we have questions to Daoud. Which Booker Prize-winning English novelist's final novel, The Blue Flower, is an account of Novalis' uncomfortable relationship with Sophie von Kuhn, who is depicted as an unremarkable girl who dies shortly after her 15th birthday? Ten seconds.
Fitzgerald.
It is Penelope Fitzgerald, yes.
Good.
Yeah. Okay.
Which former French Prime Minister was the favourite for the 2017 French presidential election, but had his reputation damaged by an embezzlement scandal involving his wife Penelope? He eventually finished third, behind Emmanuel Macron and Marine Le Pen. Ten seconds.
Fillon.
Fillon is right. Francois Fillon, yes.
Yeah, we had that in the brain final.
Yeah.
I picked the wrong one that time, so it's very hard to remember which is the right one. The wrong one before.
Which archaeological site in Balochistan, Pakistan, was excavated by Jean-Francois and Catherine Jarige in 1974? Dating from 7000 BCE, it is the oldest known site on the Indian subcontinent and may have been influenced by the Neolithic culture of the Near East. Ten seconds. Need an
Harappa.
answer? Sorry?
Harappa.
It's not. Evan.
I'll pass.
Okay, and Mark?
Mygar.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Nice.
Well done.
Mark, your own questions. New Zealand's unusual fauna is also found in its waters. What is the common name of the gelatinous, wide-mouthed, deep-water marine species Cycrolutes microporos? Also found in the waters around Australia, the holotype of this species is in the Museum of New Zealand.
Slimefish.
It's not that. Evan.
Blobfish.
It is a
Blobfish.
blobfish.
Ah,
I could also have accepted flathead.
yeah. That's not a flathead. Flathead's something different. I've fished flatheads and they don't look like that.
All right. Your second question, Mark. Once exposed and developed, components can be vertically defined using which subtractive technique to physically and chemically remove certain mineral layers? This can be divided into wet techniques that use strong acids and developers, or dry techniques that use high-power ions and plasmas.
Denaturing.
It's not that. Evan.
Etching.
Etching is right. Just going back to the previous question, it's not flathead, it's fathead. Fathead.
Flathead, yes. I was going to say flathead. You could eat flathead. I wouldn't eat one of those.
Yeah. Sorry, the voices in my ears are telling me fathead. That's probably just an insult. And Mark, your third question. Saida al-Hurra, a Moroccan queen, turned to piracy following the Spanish reconquest of Spain. She allied herself with which Ottoman corsair, who, along with his brother Oric Reis, captured Algiers from the Spanish, and was later appointed Grand Admiral by Suleiman the Magnificent?
Barbarossa.
Hayreddin Barbarossa is correct. Evan, your questions. Hokusai depicted the Tokaido Road several times in his 36 Views of Mount Fuji, a series famous for prints such as The Great Wave off Kanagawa, and which print that is also known as Red Fuji?
Mountain Sunset.
It's not that. Scott.
This Fine Wind, Clear Morning.
That is Fine Wind, Clear Morning.
Nice.
Evan, your second question. Which composer's work, Prelude, consists of 2 books of 12 preludes each that ended up covering all major and minor keys? He completed writing them in 1913, nearly a decade after his orchestral composition, La Mer.
Debussy.
It is Debussy, yes. And your third question. What name was given to the 3 mass assemblies taking place in 1877, 1903, and 1911 that were organized in Delhi by the British Raj to mark the accession of an emperor or empress? This Persian-derived term was used for the court by several Indian empires, including the Mughals, Rajputs, and Marathas. Queen Victoria applied this name to a room in Osborne House that was decorated in an Indian style. Ten seconds.
Rajput.
It's not.
Oh, no, that's not the question.
Daoud.
Howder.
Sorry?
Howder.
It's not that, no. Scott.
Is it called a Durbar?
It is called a Durbar, yes. And Scott, your own questions. In Irish mythology, Aoife transforms her 4 stepchildren, the children of Lear, into what birds who tell their father of what happened at Loch Derrabarra? Another of these birds is the divine mount of the Hindu goddess Saraswati.
A swan.
It is a swan. The brain in a vat hypothesis is often described as a contemporary version of earlier thought experiments exploring the nature of reality. These include Plato's allegory of the cave, Descartes' evil demon, and the dream argument of which Chinese philosopher of the Warring States period. This thinker described how he dreamt he was a butterfly and couldn't be sure upon waking that he wasn't, in fact, a butterfly dreaming that he was a man awakening from a dream.
Wang Zi.
Absolutely right. And the final question of the quiz. The 4 imperial cities of Morocco are Fez, Marrakesh, Rabat, and which other, located between Rabat and Fez in the center of the country? Ismail ibn Sharif, the founder of the Alawite dynasty, built its vast palace complex.
Meknes.
Meknes is absolutely right and wins you the quiz. Congratulations, Scott.
Yeah, well played, Scott.
Well done. Very good.
15, Evan second with 14, Mark third with 13, and Daoud fourth with 12. But a tremendous performance by everybody. 6 X's. What a great quiz. Anyone's up until the very end.
Yes.
Congratulations again, Scott.
Very good. Congratulations, Scott.
Thank you. Wow, I didn't think I had a chance in hell. About halfway through that. Wow. Thank you.
No, your good Japanese knowledge kind of helped it.
Yeah, that painting I did that out of.
Yeah, very well done, Scott. That was great.
Wow. That's,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
everyone.
quite emotional.
Thank you to all of those of you watching on Twitch. Thank you especially to those who phoned Mark to tell him to turn up.
Yep. So I do apologize for everyone. I mean, I got the 2 messages. I thought like the broadcast time. I thought it was 8. Then I saw the broadcast. And, oh, okay, I got that wrong. So I was kind of sipping my cup of tea, waiting. You know.
I'm not sure whether the broadcast goes on. If it doesn't, thank you all very much for listening and good night.
All right. Thanks. Bye,
Meanwhile,
everyone. And congratulations.
meanwhile, I do have tiebreaks and spare questions if you'd like.
yeah, let's do that.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
do that.
Okay, I'll stop the screen share.